December 8th, 2019, here on Metalben's Reactions, here on Metalben's Chronicles. And, well, today, happens to be the 15th anniversary of the tragic death and shooting of Dimebag Darrel Abbott. Happened in Cleveland, Ohio. When he was a damaged plant, he was shot on stage. And I remember it like yesterday when it happened, just being completely in shock, devastated, sad, and feeling like metal lost a true icon that day. And to me, Dimebag Darrel has always been a favorite guitar player of mine. He's in the top 3 of being my favorite guitar player of all time. I loved his technique. I loved his style. And he is so sadly, sorely missed within the metal community. And to me, metal really hasn't been the same without Dimebag Darrel. He was a guitar prodigy. He was a guitar virtuoso. He was winning guitar contests when he was only 15 years old, back in 1981. And for this reaction, this is where we're going to go. We're going to go all the way back to 1983, back to the beginning of Pantera. Now, in the early days, they had Terrence Glaze on vocals. Terry Glaze on vocals. Terrence Lee, whatever you want to call him. Rex Rocker on bass, which is Rex Brown. Of course, you had Vinnie Paul on drums. And at the time known as Diamond Darrel on lead guitars. And they were 17 years old, or he was 17 years old. The whole band was very young. When they went in and did Metal Magic back in 1983. And of course, Diamond Vinnie's dad produced the album, and he was a country producer, So yeah, the production on here is very raw. A lot of people don't like the production. A lot of people don't like this era of Pantera. But you know what, for the honor of Dimebag Darrel, I'm going to go back to the early years here for this reaction. And there's going to be more Pantera reactions here on this channel. But I figured, we would go all the way back to 1983 in the beginning. And the track we're going to react to is Metal Magic, the self-titled track off Metal Magic from 1983. And I do have the CD coming in the mail, by the way. I found the CD dirt cheap, believe it or not, on eBay. Well, the cheapest I could find, it was around $19 or so. And it should be coming any day. But anyways, without further ado, cheers to Dimebag Darrel. Let's check out the 1983 self-titled track, Metal Magic. going to notice, on this track is, yes, they sound nothing like they would sound in the 90s, obviously. This right here definitely has a more Judas Priest type of vibe to it. Maybe early Accept. It's kind of weird, man, and it definitely has that new wave of British heavy metal type of feel to it. Like, to me, those early Pantera albums always get compared to glam metal. Honestly, if you really listen to the albums, yes, there's that influence in there, don't get me wrong. But I think if you go back and listen to Metal Magic, Projects in the Jungle, and I Am the Night, those first three Pantera albums with Terry Glaze as vocalist, I would say it's more along the lines of American power metal. You can hear some thrash creeping in there in some of the tracks. And definitely the hair metal, glam metal influence is there. But this is much heavier. It's still much heavier than what was coming out at the time. It's still heavier than your Rats and Twisted Sisters and Motley Crues, that were coming out in that time period. I mean, this right here quintessentially is a speed metal track, Metal Magic. And the thing you'll notice too, back then, and Randy Rhoads had passed away a year previous in 1982. And it's like Randy Rhoads' talent passed on to a young Diamond Darrel Abbott. You can really hear it. Like, Dime early on really had that Randy Rhoads type of influence to his playing, and the Eddie Van Halen too. But yeah, it's like the talent Randy Rhoads had after, his unfortunate passing in 1982 in that plane crash, was passed on to this young 16, 17-year-old kid. And it's a shame that Pantera didn't get the recognition back then that I think they could have gotten. They were pretty huge around the Texas area at the time, playing the clubs. And notably, too, I think the early Pantera albums of this period sound like something that Sharpnel Records would have released. That Guitar Shredder label that put out Hawaii, Vinnie Moore albums, Cacophony albums, Marty Friedman, Jason Becker solo albums, and so much more. I kind of get that vibe on these first three Pantera albums, because Dimebag was a shredder on the guitar on these earlier Pantera albums. And I think these albums do get thrown under the bus, and the hardcore fans of 90s Pantera will not give these albums a chance. But I've always enjoyed them. So yeah, that's my reaction to Metal Magic. I kind of went into a backstory a little bit. To me, this is a phenomenal track. It's definitely early Judas Priest inspired. Definitely a speed metal track, and you can definitely tell it's a young band. I do believe too around this time, you can definitely tell they're trying to find their sound. By no means is this a perfect album. The production's very raw. It's not produced good at all. Sometimes the drums sound like they're distorted like a black metal album. You know what I mean. But all in all, I enjoy the debut album by Pantera. I know a lot of people don't like it. To each their own, I guess. I've always been a fan of these early Pantera albums as much as the stuff they've done in the 90s. So I would give this track probably a 9 out of 10. Maybe, yeah, I'd say about a 9 out of 10. It's a good early Pantera song. I do think the little keyboard part in the middle of the track is a little weird, though. It's very odd. Kind of gives it a dark vibe, too, in a way. But, yeah. Anyways, to me, killer track. Check it out if you've never heard early Pantera, and stay tuned for more.